Hi guys, Gary Fong here, and I wanted to talk about something real quick before things got a little bit past this stage. So I wanted to talk about what happened Sunday, because Sunday there were a lot of my friends who were going through just a whole bunch of turmoil, what they thought was emotional turmoil. I definitely felt it too. I can describe how it feels, but I also know how to handle it. So, and there were a couple of people who had life-threatening anxiety, suicidal thoughts. And I help those people not go further into that rabbit hole of turmoil that you can get caught in. The interesting thing about suicide is often an impulse. It's typically well thought out. You know, there's logical reason and everything behind that. But the suicide itself tends to be very impulsive, and that's why we've always seen when people hang themselves in the garage, there's scratch marks on the neck, or when they jump off a bridge, there's always a lot of screaming and fear and everything like that. It's a good idea until you actually take part in the act, because the body does not want to harm itself. The body wants to protect itself. And so when you jump off a cliff and you're feeling all that, the loss of gravity and the free fall, every cell in your body is at adrenaline level trying to protect itself, because the body is meant to protect itself. So when I talk about protection, we have a three-dimensional body. And that body is protected by eyes, ears, nose, taste, and smell, and touch, okay? Those five senses are only there as navigational tools to protect this three-dimensional body, right? So if I've got this remote flying at me, my eyes see it and I duck it. You understand what I'm saying, is that the five senses are there to protect the physical body from harm. And but it doesn't give you any more clarity than to protect the physical body. Now, this physical body is a very interesting thing because it's extremely limited in its scope. I can only be right here at my desk right now. I can get on the internet and find out what's going on in Washington, D.C., but I'm stuck inside this body. And inside this body, you know, my ear will itch, or I'm hungry, or I'm thirsty, or I need coffee, or I have to, you know, take a crap or whatever. There's a lot of challenges in trying to kind of be in a different awareness of vibrational energy while being in a three-dimensional body. And so just just follow with me there. Okay, I've got you so far, right? You're in a body, it itches, it farts, it needs to pee, it's got dry eyes, it's got hay fever, all of that. Now, eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, all there to protect this three-dimensional body. The problem comes in when we use the five senses to try to create awareness. Awareness isn't navigation. Awareness is an overall feeling of like how things work, or what's the reason behind things. And when we try to use our eyes and our ears to figure stuff out, tell me exactly what you were doing in that hotel room, you know, at 2 a.m. when you weren't answering my calls, or things like that. That's the ears wanting to hear it, but your overall intuition knew something was wrong. And there's a book called The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. It's one that it's something that I've read probably 3 times, and I probably have only read a small number of books multiple times because of how great they are. And in The Gift of Fear, Gavin de Becker talks about intuition. When the hair crawls up on the back of your neck, sometimes people say, my dog has a good sense of who's a good person and a bad person. When someone comes to the door, the dog growls. But what Gavin de Becker explains is that the dog growls not because the dog has a sense of who's good or bad, it's because you have a sense of good and bad. And the dog merely can pick up that feeling and then respond to it. So when we hit this really kind of, it's called a strawberry moon, or it's a very, very intense moon. Lunar energy is strong in our presence. I mean, it dictates women's menstrual cycles. It dictates the tides of the earth, the wave, the undulating motion of the waves. That all comes from lunar energy. So there's a lot of it. And the moon can either be a generator for this energy, or it can be a reflector, or it can be a block. So there's a lot of things that can happen with the moon and the energy that holds everything together. That energy is this universal kind of oneness that human beings are supposed to be able to plug into. The problem is we have these distractions with our eyes and ears. And so what winds up happening is when we feel the moon's energy like it is, intense, and the best way I can describe it is just imagine right now you look up in the sky and 2 miles away is the surface of the moon. So just picture that the moon is literally right above your city, and you can see the craters, and you can see, so tell me how that feels. Do you get a sinking feeling in your gut? Do you get kind of this swirling, oh my God, I don't know how to deal with this. This is really strange. Do you get that feeling? That's the feeling a lot of people get when the moon is really intense. Just not the eyes seeing the moon right on top of us, but you still get that feeling like, when I describe to you the moon is that close, then you understand what's happening. So what happens is when people are taken out of their routine pattern and their focus, their eye focus, which is like setting goals or watching Netflix or whatever, anything that comes in through the eyes and the ears, and you're not used to blocking out your navigational sensors, you start to freak out when things come in and they just don't make sense. They don't make sense because they don't come in through your five senses. But we are not three-dimensional awareness beings. We are actually, five-dimensional beings that can have our awareness go everywhere in different places. And, this happens in death and dying. We understand that the minute that we die, our body completely falls apart, and that's because it's our energy, the vibrational energy that we put together as incarnated awareness beings that holds all these cells together, that makes them replicate so they look the same. I mean, I'm not physically the same person as I was 3 years ago because all of the cells have completely replaced each other. But the cells know what I'm supposed to be. So God created man in his own image. Okay? God, man, own image. So what happens in a situation like that is that your awareness energy is holding your body together. When you depart that and you become what I'll call a light body, then you don't have any use for this thing anymore, and it decomposes. The light body is kind of cool because it doesn't have headaches, doesn't need caffeine, doesn't itch, doesn't have hay fever, and that's a really cool way to go. That is what we are in essence, but we choose to put ourselves into these things so we can let that essence grow by limiting ourselves to this thing. Let me give you an example. This is a very interesting example. And just, you know what? If you think this is out there, then just pretend that this is all fiction and I'm telling a story. So let's tell a story about energetic spirits, okay? And they're looking at a screen. It's a video game, just like Grand Prix racing. Okay, so if you ever see those race car racing things, you'll see that there's you can choose a track. Do you want to choose Le Mans? Do you want to choose Monaco? Do you want to choose Oval? Then you can choose your car. Okay, so you can choose like, I want the Ford GT350, or I want the Lamborghini, or whatever, or the Cobra, or whatever. So you pick the course, you pick the car. Because you go there and you go, wow, this is going to be cool. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to see what I'm made of, right? So you get to pick all that stuff. So let's say, for example, you got two things vapors, energetic kind of things. One of them says, I'm up for the big game. Put me in the slums of Chicago. Let me be born to a drug addict, whatever. Let me grow up and get molested and raped. Give me a weight problem. Make me black. Let's see if I can become the world's first billionaire, female black billionaire. And that's Oprah. The person next to her is like, kind of want to go the easy way this time. Make me gorgeous and the daughter of a billionaire. So this person becomes Ivanka Trump. And the two of them, as you can understand, have different levels of challenge, right? So it's what you get out of it that you put in. But what I'm saying is, in this, if you don't believe this stuff, then just pretend that I'm telling a story. In my story, these people get to choose where they're born, who they're born to, what astrological sign, because that sign shows what stars were where in the universe. And when you arrive here, if the stars are at a certain point and you put, and you open your eyes and everything's, say, violet colored, you're going to feel a different way about the planet you just landed on because it's violet. Or say, for example, that you're born at a certain time and all these planets were here, and now everything looks like it's red. You're going to feel different about your surroundings if you see that everything is red. And you'll do what you can to put on sunglasses to make the world look less red. So we choose, in my fantasy story, the time and the date of our arrival, which gives us our kind of our energetic awareness, but also our tendencies. And all of those things are things that we are here to kind of, grow through, to see if we can take all of these distractions and go past that into this awareness world, right? This is where, to my friends who were in danger of leaving the planet because of this crazy moon, I suggested meditation. Now, when I say meditation, it's like, oh God, blah, blah, blah. But here's all meditation is. Take this thing, turn it off, put it away. 1 hour. Or 15 minutes if that's all you can handle. People go, how do I meditate? Do I breathe, man? Do I listen to some totally stuff? Do I wear beads? No, the way to meditate is to not let anything from outside come in. Nothing through your eyes, nothing through your ears. Just block it all out. Because in the absence of these navigational tools that protect your three-dimensional body, nothing comes in except the awareness that you're supposed to receive by the downstreaming energy of the universe, which has the eternal truths about space and time and everything like that. Now, one thing about the universe is that, have you ever talked to someone, say you're talking to me and I'm going, yeah, and then what happened? No, okay, I see, yeah, so, yeah. And that was Bill? Oh, it wasn't Bill. Oh, I'm sorry. The person is not listening. Do you stop talking? Yes, of course you stop talking. That's what happens when the universe is trying to talk to you and you don't listen. So one way of not listening is to be skeptical and argumentative. Like you see repeating patterns on numbers, 11, 11, 3, 3, 3, whatever. Or you think about someone and they magically appear the next day. Or you see a sign, and that sign is a particularly weird sign. These things have happened to me so much, even in my career. It's like I was photographing Sidney Sheldon's daughter's wedding, and Sidney comes out of his office and he says, Gary, would you like to learn how to craft a story? He spent the next couple hours with his daughter's wedding photographer teaching this young man how to do character arcs against timelines and have conflict and intention as two opposing things and make the characters interact but irritate each other. But in the end, the character gets what he needs, what the audience knows he needs, but not exactly what he set out for at the beginning of the journey, and all of that other stuff. And he said something really interesting to me. He said, Gary, when you get comments from your reps, remember that they didn't live in your story. They're just showing you the things that are up here that you didn't write. Why are you telling this to a wedding photographer, right? So I've got a zillion stories like that. And but what I wanted to tell you is that to me that was weird, and I journaled it. And I thought, I don't know why Sidney Sheldon told me this, but it must mean something. And then only years later, when I started to write fiction, did I realize that he was giving me some very, very amazing sage advice from a man who was in the Guinness Book of World Records as one of the leading fiction authors, screenwriters, and producers in all of history. So going back to meditation, all meditation is, and it's scary, because without your navigational devices, you feel like you're driving a car in the woods with no steering wheel. Okay, so we're just like, whoa. But not a bad idea to try it, because once you stop letting things come in through your eyes or your ears, where do your beliefs come from? Well, the priest told me that if I masturbate, I'll go blind. Or, well, I've heard that homosexuals are, or I've heard that, the people in the Middle East are, even in this movie that I'm writing right now, there's a line in there where the woman says, I can't believe that man is flirting with that Japanese lady. Doesn't he know that Japanese women eat their own babies? And that really was a belief in the propaganda era of World War II. But that was something that she heard. And everything that you hear and you see is kind of there to block you from the things that you feel. So in order to get to the place where you can feel what the truths are and get intuition, and you listen to the universe as it talks to you, you actually put up an antenna. Some might call it a tinfoil hat, but you actually put up an antenna to kind of say, that was really weird when you gave me that synchronicity moment, which turned into something else. When you start to do that, you're going to be able to see a larger picture about the fact that, our awareness, our ability to love, our ability to connect, this vibrational energy that makes us who we are is eternal. It doesn't stop at 72 years, or if a piano falls on you, or at 14,116 years. I remember when I grew up, and a lot of the Catholic teachings were, well, you'll either go to hell or you'll go to heaven for an eternity. And I remember seeing pictures of cherubs playing with harps, and these staircases, but angels flying around, and they're all playing harps. And I would think, at year 71,164, I'm still going to be seeing clouds, and I'm still going to be hearing these harps. And maybe that's okay, but at year 2.6 million, or maybe at year, 8, could you stand 8 years of floating around in a cloud and hearing someone play the harp? But those were all things that were coming in through my eyes and ears, hearing that through sermons, seeing that through illustrated religious books and things like that. And, so when you hear people say things like, we believe, that's because as a collective group, you want the leader to do the thinking for you, right? So all of that gets kind of put away in meditation. And in meditation, and it's not it's not putting black charcoal on your head and wearing a headband, and it's none of those things. All it is not letting anything come in through your eyes or your ears, because anything that comes in through your eyes or your ears makes you react, makes you emotional, makes you change the course of your awareness to deal with what's happening right in front of you right now. And Kitty, why are you eating my... So anyway, If you're looking for an example of like the forces that are upon you that block you from being able to enjoy kind of the universal knowledge that it kind of is everywhere. Just think about how different man is than the deer in the woods. You know, man has these constructs of time. I've got a number of people who are having really big issues affording the rent or the mortgage. And it's like, oh my God, it's the 18th already. It's like the alarm clock starts at 15, you know, so there's a stress level and everything like that. You notice that a deer doesn't give a crap about anything unless it hears a rustling in the woods, and then it goes on high alert. But man is not like that. Man is always on high alert. It's like, oh my God, I've got to get that. Oh shit, midterms are coming up. How am I going to get my, refinancing? It's like, oh, my FICO score is this. I mean, the number of things that you have to, as a person in society, deal with is mind-boggling. So it's like my credit history. It's like, how do I look on Instagram? How many followers do I have? Am I eating right? I got to get my six-pack abs back yet. Oh, that guy's got a Mercedes and I've got a whatever. And all of those things. Then you add to that the fact that my back itches and the fact that just all of this stuff, if you were able to block all that out, could you imagine what comes in? And it's not nothing. People think, oh, I'll just sit there and I'll just get freaking bored, or I've tried being in flotation tanks. By the way, flotation tanks are not a great idea. The reason that is because there's 85 pounds of salt. Salt is a crystal, and crystals absorb energy. So unless it's brand new salt, when you go into a tank, someone else has been there, just had a boyfriend cheat on them or something like that, and dumped all of that negativity into the salt. Now you come in to absorb it. Not probably the best idea. Best way to really meditate, you can meditate while doing the laundry if you're focusing on the process and being present at that moment, and not having CNN on or Fox News or Twitter. Or you can just like lay in bed and have no light, no sound, and don't focus on your breathing. Don't intend anything. Interesting thing about the current world is expectation energy is extremely repulsive. Those of you who are trying to close the deal, those of you who are trying to, get that person to love you, it all has repulsive quality right now because the energy has changed. And I think you can feel that. So don't be pushy. Just be aware and kind of watch what comes in, and you'll be amazed at how instantly clear things get. Ooh, it's like, how long do I have to meditate before I get it? It's like, don't worry about it. Actually, don't worry about anything, because worrying is expectation energy. If I don't do it right, then I won't get the results. So, because we live in a very action, reaction, cause and effect world. And that's not the way that synchronicity works. Synchronicity, you can look it up, is when something happens and it's really strange, and then later you find out the meaning. Jung, the psychologist, defined synchronicity as an unusual event that has an acausal meaning. Okay, so I'll let you look that up. I gotta go. But I wanted to put this out there because there are some of you right now who probably are thinking, time to check out, pills good option, jumping a good option. Once you're in the middle of that, you will want to come back. And that's because when you're standing in line trying to play this video game that has, what car should I pick, which course should I pick, I want to be Ivanka, I want to be Oprah, there's a big line of people that want to get into this body. Some of you wanted to have gorgeous bodies. Some of you wanted to have average bodies, or some of you wanted to be maybe have Down syndrome and be able to just have this crazy unconditional love for everybody and everything that you see, but be born into a society that feels pity for you and wants to terminate your pregnancy because you tested positive for the marker that could indicate Down syndrome, right? Isn't it weird? Okay, I'm going to say bye for now. So anyway, if you're thinking of ending your life, it's that moon. Okay, bye.